Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the official podcast for MCUExchange.com. Our goal in this trial episode is just to bring you some commentary from various members of the MCU Exchange team. Today I am hosting, I'm Cooper Hood, one of the lead news writers on the site, but today I am joined by my co-host for the day, Rhiannon.
Hey guys, nice to be here.
Yeah, so it's been a pretty crazy couple of days for the site, just because San Diego Comic-Con, as we're recording, it's in the middle of the last day, and we don't expect much else. But Marvel dropped a lot of good stuff, and we have a lot of in-depth articles on the site, but we're so excited we just wanted to talk about it again and actually get our voices out there. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. We're going to go through day by day, do Netflix and then the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel, and then finish it off with all the stuff Marvel Studios dropped yesterday. Was there anything in particular before we get into it that you were really looking forward to?
Well, I in particular am a huge fan of the Netflix MCU. So everything I was looking forward to and really excited about was that panel on the first night. And everything they dropped on that first night just had me really excited.
Yeah, so we'll kind of go in chronological order of how they dropped things. As far as we could tell, it's kind of hard to keep up with everything going on, just because so much was dropping. It seemed like we're talking on like our on the site, and it's just like everybody's freaking out. Oh my gosh, did this just happen? Who's covering this? It's really chaotic. And the thing that kind of started it off, well, they had John Bernthal come out and intro and do like security, I guess.
Yeah, John Bernthal showing up was a big surprise.
Yeah.
And I love that, just bringing him out for security. Because they
Yeah,
always give that speech about nobody should be videoing in Hall H and you shouldn't be recording anything. And so just bring out the Punisher, get it started.
yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't get any like news on the Punisher series, besides him saying like he loves the character. But then the first kind of like piece of news that came out of it that wasn't actually like said directly at the panel came from Agent M of Marvel, Ryan Penagos. He tweeted that Rosario Dawson was not there because she's filming something else for Marvel TV in New York. So it can only be assumed that Claire Temple is going to be an Iron Fist, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to me, that's saying that she's an Iron Fist. I mean, for a moment, because Joe Quesada had said that he was going to be giving footage of an unannounced show. So, long shot was maybe they're giving Claire her own show, or maybe there's some
Yeah.
whole other show. But yeah, it's pretty much confirmation that she's an Iron Fist.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. Yeah, I would love a Claire Temple show, just her daily life or whatever. I mean, Rosario Dawson's the best. Um, so there's not that much to really say about it besides that she's in it. We don't know what her role is going to be, but I'm assuming this will transfer into the Defenders, right?
Yeah, well, and I mean, we know that she has a pretty big part in Luke Cage, that she was in a
Yeah.
good bit of filming for Luke Cage. So I'm sure after we've seen whatever her role is in Luke Cage, maybe after the end of Daredevil Season 2, she had to move to Harlem, maybe her
Mm-hmm.
life's upside down, and who knows where she ends up by the time Iron Fist comes around. So yeah, I mean, if she's not in the Defenders, she's the only one that's been in every single show.
Yeah. I mean, she almost has to be at this point.
Yeah.
And then the next, I believe the next thing that dropped was they announced that Daredevil was renewed for a third season. Not very surprising, but still awesome to get that official confirmation.
Yeah, yeah, just super psyched to have. I mean, we knew Daredevil had to keep coming, had to have another season. It's just really exciting to know that it's really, really happening.
Yeah, there's no timetable. The teaser they put out was like, "Oh, we'll see you very soon," or like coming soon, which I don't know how like what their definition of soon is, but they've got like 5 other shows in the works, so it's hard to imagine we get that anytime like relatively soon.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, anybody that knows me knows my number one subject is the Netflix timetable.
Yeah,
Jeff Loeb, all he has ever said is that they're sticking to that 6 months between shows, which with the path they have out ahead, that's just not possible.
no,
And that's the number one thing I want from Jeff Loeb. I would like a Netflix schedule. Let us know.
Right.
Are we moving to 4 months? Are we moving to something special? Give us a schedule.
Yeah, because I think there was a quote where he was talking about kind of the transition to do the Defenders, and when Netflix initially requested them do a season 2, and he was like, okay, well, like we'll give that to you in 2017. They're like, no, like we need it next year. So does that mean like Daredevil season 3 now takes priority over those other things? Like, is that going to be the one that comes out directly after Defenders instead of like Punisher or Jessica Jones season 2? I'm not really sure how all this works. Yeah.
That would be really upsetting for the Jessica Jones fans because they have been waiting. Well, no, but we already know. I mean, the Jessica Jones writers' room is working on season 2 already.
Right.
They've gotten together, and the Daredevil showrunners are running the Defenders. So I doubt they will get to work until Defenders is in the can. Mm-hmm. And so they might even be doing like a Luke Cage season 2. There could be Jessica Jones or something else, and then Daredevil, just so they have time to get done with the Defenders, and assuming they keep Ramirez and Petrie as the showrunners for Daredevil.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to think that the current schedule is, we get Luke Cage in just under 2 months, and then we get Iron Fist early next year, Defenders in the fall, and then maybe we do Punisher right after, and then Jessica Jones season 2, Daredevil season 3. Who knows what else?
And with everything you listed, if they stick to that 6-month schedule, you don't have Daredevil till 2019.
Right.
That's just not possible.
No.
Punisher needs to be. I'm hoping the Punisher accelerates the schedule, that it's coming out like summer of 2017 or.
Right. That'd be awesome.
Give us, I don't know, or Defenders is in the summer, and then we get Punisher in the fall, and then we move into the season 2s. But even that, so long to wait.
Yeah, and it's almost impossible for them to stick to that, just because of, like you're saying, of the amount of shows. And I mean, that doesn't even account for a season 2 for Luke Cage or Iron Fist, or another Defenders series, or like a Misty Knight solo series.
Yeah.
And then there's like there's always those rumors of like Blade and Moon Knight and Ghost Rider, but that's not probably going to happen anymore. Like, all these people are going to get their own Netflix shows in like the quote unquote phase 2. But if Marvel keeps putting out these things every 6 months, then we're going to have to wait 4 years between like a season. That's just not possible.
Yeah. Well, and my hope, and this is me as a fan, is that they move into either like Luke Cage and Jessica, their relationship moves on, and that becomes one show. That maybe season 2 of Jessica Jones is also kind of season 2 of Luke Cage.
Right.
Or that Luke Cage and Danny team up, and instead of a season 2 for Luke Cage or Iron Fist, we get Heroes for Hire.
Right.
And that brings Misty back, and we get some of that. I'm hoping they just go ahead. That's the thing. I mean, it's great for everybody to have their own show.
Yeah.
And to feature all of these characters individually. But there's so many of them that I would almost rather have shows that are an ensemble of heroes that we get more frequently, so we can see all these characters more frequently.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. I know one of our team members, Charles, he put up he made like a graphic for Heroes for Hire. Yes. It's on the Twitter page for MCU Exchange. Go find it. It's really good.
Yeah, it's also up on our Tumblr, I think. But any of those, I mean, you're going to have to dig through any of those sources right now. We have
you have to go back like 50 stories. Yeah, it's very cool. And so you should check that out if Heroes for Hire is something that interests you. And then, so Luke Cage is now coming out, and we finally, we got our first look at it at the end of Jessica Jones season 1, which seemed fitting because of, Coulter popping up as Luke Cage in like 6 or 7 episodes throughout that season. But now we actually have our first trailer. What'd you think?
I loved it. It gave me a feel. I know Charles, again, on our staff, was a little bit upset that that there was more footage in the sizzle reel that they gave us. So at the beginning of the panel, they gave a sizzle reel that had that had Luke, Jessica, and Matt. He was upset that there was more action in that, but I feel like the very slow, calm taking down of bad guys that it showed gave us a feel of who Luke is and sort of the tone of the show. I really loved it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, yeah, the sizzle reel is definitely very cool, especially the moment where the guy punches Luke in the face and his hand breaks in like 20 places or whatever.
Yeah.
But the trailer itself, yeah, like it was set to like this really good music, and from everything that showrunner Cheo Coker's been saying about it, music plays a big role in kind of setting the tone for this series. And I thought the music they chose for this trailer really did that as well. I mean, it's not going to get old to watch Luke Cage like barely down an alley with a car door as a shield, and then just getting like nailed by bullets left and right, doesn't phase him, and then like you just throwing dudes up in the air against the wall. I mean, it's hard not to be like completely excited for this after that trailer.
Yeah. That and the music for it, I loved that Coker used the explanation, the Wu-Tangification of the MCU. It's a great, catchy soundtrack to it. Everything about it was great.
Right. And then that's kind of when the surprises started to unfold, because right after that, they were talking about Iron Fist, and like internally on the site, we're like, okay, there's no way they're going to show Iron Fist because they're still shooting. That's not the way Netflix and Marvel have been promoting these shows so far. To see something this early would just be out of the ordinary, and that's what they did. And they didn't just show it to like the people in attendance. They also released online just a really quick glimpse, like the shortest of teasers for the series, showing a little bit of Danny's origin, and then ends with him just busting down a wall with like his bare fists or his foot, or it's hard to really tell, but I mean, that was just like shocking to see, and also just completely awesome.
Yeah. That was when I gave up any chance of sleeping on Thursday night. It was just, run around the house screaming and then get to work covering some of the news. But, yeah, I did not expect to see a teaser for that. Loved it. Everything about it was great.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's rumors that he'll be popping up in Luke Cage. So, I mean, you'd kind of expect that to happen at this point if they're already showing us some footage. So, who knows? I mean, we know it's confirmed for a 2017 release date. It's been like that for a while. The fact that they're showing footage, maybe that means, I mean, what's the 6th month output after Luke Cage? That would put it in...
that would put it around the time Daredevil...
March?
Yeah,
so,
around the time we got Daredevil was like March 18th, so somewhere around mid-March.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can't imagine we can get it any sooner. I don't...
Yeah. What I'm hoping is that New York Comic-Con will see actual footage, or...
Yeah.
That they'll... Because New York Comic-Con will be the week after Luke Cage premieres. So hopefully they'll have some real juicy stuff in October.
Right. Yeah, you'd have to think that they'll like heavily push, Iron Fist. Would Defenders be started shooting by that point?
I'm hoping so. The original schedule, because we originally heard a schedule that they were going to start filming in August, which just doesn't seem possible.
No.
But hopefully they will start by... Hopefully, I mean, I think they will. I think by New York Comic Con we will see all 4 Defenders on stage
together. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they'll have everybody in town. They'll be able to put them all on stage. I haven't even thought about if they would be filming Defenders, if we would get the same type of teaser in New York for Defenders that we got for Iron Fist.
I don't know if we'll actually see footage or not, but I could see them at least releasing like a group still of all of them like in costume, like from the set. Because, I mean, who wouldn't love to see that?
I will die. I mean,
right.
I'm actually going to be at New York Comic Con, so all of that anxiety that we had over San Diego, like, I'll be in person, actually dead on the convention floor.
We'll be, like, trying to contact you and be like, what's happening? And responding.
What's happening? And I'll be like, I'm dead.
So yeah, then the Defenders teaser came out. It was very short, but it was so cool. Just like the way they did it, just ripping away, like it looked like just pieces of paper that had all the different stuff from, Nelson and Murdoch to, there was a symbol for, I think, Matt's church on there. There was one for Alias Investigations. Just ripping all that away, and then it had said defend with a hand just right over it. And then Stick is narrating it. It's confirmed, just, not surprising, but great to know. I mean, this was almost probably the most exciting thing that came out of this almost.
Yeah. I mean, one, just like Nirvana bringing Smells Like Teen Spirit in as the background there, and the way they did it, just taking away the instruments. The hand having Stick, the thought of Stick and Jessica Jones being in the same room. I am just, give me that. I just want, him having to deal with her. What makes me so happy. Having the hand as the villain means we might get some of those answers to all of the questions left hanging from Daredevil season 2. I just so exciting all around.
Yeah. So, I mean, we already know all the Defenders are going to be there. We assume Claire Temple is going to be there, and with I saw Peter, it's Shinkato, I believe is his last name, who plays Nobu. He tweeted something about Black Sky and how it's coming again. He just keeps teasing. I don't think Nobu would be involved with Defenders.
I mean, he did those types of tweets for season 2.
Yeah.
Which he was actually in.
But I mean, he got
beheaded. Yeah. I mean, I think Stick...
At some point, I mean, it is a comic book show, but you have to at least take a little bit of sense into it and be like, okay, we saw him get decapitated.
Yeah.
It's not like the other one where he was on fire, but I mean, you can come back from that, I guess.
I mean, fire is usually a good way to just, get rid of a body and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, his little revival coffin has Elektra in it instead of him. So, I don't know. I mean, I think he's a fan. I mean, having listened to him on other podcasts, Peter Shinkoda is a fan. So, I think he's just as excited. But who knows? It's a big mystery. Maybe at some point we can have agents go and scout out the sets and see if we can find out. I mean, because I had gone to the set during Daredevil season 2 and had actually run into Peter Shinkoda. Right. So I knew he was coming back from the dead. So it is sometimes kind of, you can discover those things. Right. So maybe...
Because, I think you told us, right after you first started, writing for us, that you were like, hey, do you guys know D'Onofrio's going to be in it? We're like, wait, what? That has not been reported at all.
That was the greatest piece of information that I assumed would be public knowledge. I mean, as soon as it happened, I talked to a security guard, and I was like, this is a huge deal. I don't know if I should tell my friends or not. And he was like, you might as well just tell people. It's going to be public. They're out here on the streets. Everybody's going to know. And I was like, okay. So, I had spread the word to a fairly small circle of friends. And then as I got closer to the premiere, I was just like, oh my gosh.
Nobody knows about
this.
Yeah. So. And even, because then we covered it, and then I didn't see a lot of other people pick it up, because I think we were under 2 weeks, maybe 1 week until it came out. So I think people were just trying to preserve the mystery around it. And then I think you told us about Nobu, and we're not going to cover that because that's just almost too spoilery at that point.
Well, and that was the thing. I assumed D'Onofrio would be public knowledge. I had just assumed. I mean, how could they keep that secret? So I told everybody about that in the very beginning. But so it was a later trip that I saw Shinkoda, and I was like, I'll keep this one a secret. It'll be the big secret, And then when they put the teasers out, they had him narrating parts of it. You could hear his voice and stuff, and I was like, dang it, that was the secret I was keeping.
But they still they never confirmed it at that point. I mean, I remember the shot of his blade thing swinging across, and there was the masked figure. It was is that Nobu? How is that possible? Because he clearly died in the last season. And
Well, and
He
that's
died
even,
again.
I mean, even when I saw him on the streets at filming, because I was there when they were filming that rooftop scene, I didn't reckon. I mean, one, there were ninjas everywhere.
Right.
And my friends were like, didn't you see that Peter Shinkoda's here? And I'm like, no. And they're like, he walked right past you. And I'm like, why would I be looking for him? What? I mean, he's dead. And they're like, he's right there. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we don't know if, we don't know if Elektra's going to be there. We don't know if Nobu will be there or Punisher. We don't know, besides the main 4 Avengers and probably Claire, we don't know who's going to be in the Defenders. But Simone Missick, after, this panel, she was doing press for the series, and she teased that she's getting her metal arm in next year. So does that mean she's in Iron Fist? And that's when she gets her arm? Is she in Defenders? I would think she's probably more fits with like the Defenders initially, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Misty and Danny have a history.
Yeah.
So that would be awesome to come in, but it would also just be great for her to be around for the Defenders.
Right. And see, I almost think, like, I know they have the history in the comics, and then they showed footage at the panel of Mike Coulter and Simone Missick having a very intimate scene together. So it would be, I don't know which way I want it to go. Do I want her to pop up in Iron Fist and then have that, that spark with Danny start then, and then transfer that over into the Defenders, where then Luke and Danny would like kind of both be interested in her? Or would I rather her be kind of more siding towards Luke and the Defenders meet Danny and then head off more towards Danny?
Yeah, and I mean, that scene that they showed evidently was them just like almost kissing outside, from what I understood.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like Jessica Jones, Luke steamy scenes.
Yeah.
So it may not even be anything that evolves to anything. I don't know
it's
how
possible.
I feel about the love triangles. I would like to meet Misty as Misty.
Exactly.
Before she's a tool for love triangles.
Right. But I think she said something similar to that. I don't have the article up in front of me, but yeah. I remember reading something about her saying, oh, well, she's not, Luke's girlfriend or something. Like, she's her own person.
Cool. Yeah, I missed that one. I just caught where she said, it's going to be a slow character development, which to me means the character's going to be around a while.
Yeah.
So whether we see her in Iron Fist or the Defenders, we're going to see more Misty Knight, which I think everybody can use.
Yeah, I mean, I expect her to, really just take off. I mean, similar to the way, Coulter did with Jessica Jones, or Dawson did in the first scene of Daredevil. I think there's going to be a lot of people interested in wanting to see more and more of Misty Knight after Luke Cage is done.
Yeah.
So that's it, I believe, from the Netflix panel.
That was a huge night. Or at least at the time, we thought it was a huge night.
I mean, even still looking back, I feel like there was definitely a lot of excitement for, Hall H and stuff. But, I think the reaction right after the Netflix stuff, I think just because there was hardly anything else that happened that day or other competing news, like, I saw way more of just, like, all this Netflix stuff than, like, as opposed to today where we are seeing like the Marvel Hall H stuff, but there's also like DC Justice League and Wonder Woman and Kong Skull Island and all this other stuff that came out of Hall H on Saturday to kind of compete with that news a little bit.
Yeah. And I think Marvel tries to always be the last one to throw stuff out and just trump everything else, but there was a lot of strong news through the weekend. And I feel that there was so much good stuff that people just might miss.
Yeah, there's stuff like that's on the site right now that I haven't even like read yet because there's just so much other stuff going on that I hardly have time. Like I didn't even get a chance to watch the Doctor Strange trailer until like 12:30 last night.
Right,
just
and
that was
the same with me. And
stuff.
The Luke Cage trailer, like on Thursday night, the Luke Cage trailer, I didn't see it till 12:30 or 1 a.m.
Right.
And I was perfectly satisfied. And then I was like, oh yeah, I haven't seen this yet. Oh my God. Like...
Yeah. So, I mean, we can talk about, whether or not all of this news is a good thing at the end of this episode as we close out.
Yeah.
But we've still got 2 days
I know,
of
we have a
info to
lot.
get through.
This may end up being more than one podcast.
Yeah, maybe. Or just, an incredibly long one. So moving on to the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel. This was on Friday night. And before the panel even started earlier that day, H&M posted a photo, and a lot of other people did as well, of this mysterious figure that looked like a car underneath this curtain at the Marvel booth. And earlier that day, or the day before, was when Latino Review posted a rumor saying that they had heard that, we are actually going to get Ghost Rider in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it's going to be Robbie Reyes' version. And then we waited the whole panel. The panel itself was not much. I mean, it was a lot of fluff. People asking, what's been your favorite part of working on this show so far? And not a lot of looking ahead from what we've seen. But then at the end of the panel, with finally revealing that yes, Ghost Rider's coming, and because Marvel likes to do things in little weird ways sometimes, instead of bringing the new Robbie Reyes onto the stage or anything there, they released a press release afterwards confirming that yes, Ghost Rider is appearing. It's going to be the Robbie Reyes version from the all-new Ghost Rider from 2014, and that Gabriel Luna has been cast to play him.
Yeah. All very exciting, which because everybody had been expecting Ghost Rider to get his own show.
Right.
And so maybe just adding some new sizzle to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I mean, I have conflicting feelings about this. First off, I'm not very familiar with the Robbie Reyes version of Ghost Rider. So they can change whatever they really want about him, and I'm not really going to care that much. But I was excited about the possibilities of a Ghost Rider series on Netflix. So now that they're going to take a different version of that character and put him on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. concerns me a little bit, just because, and I don't think this is an opinion that just I have, I think a lot of other people do as well, that a TV budget on ABC that has now been, the show's been pushed back to 10 p.m., so they're going to probably have a smaller budget this year, and now they're bringing in this very heavy VFX character, and you have to do him justice, otherwise he's kind of a waste to be there. So the tricky part is, how often do you show him as Ghost Rider and not just Robbie Reyes? Because similar with when we found out we were getting Hive last season, we were like, oh my gosh, how are they going to do that? And they did it by only showing Hive once in the season finale, and I don't want that to be a similar thing with Robbie this time around, where we see his head become a flaming skull 2 times in an entire season, instead of, if he had a Netflix show, he could do that every episode or something like that.
Yeah, and I think it also it just makes me curious as far as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. filling up 24 episodes a season, how many characters they need to keep it interesting.
Right.
Or if it's a chance to go deeper into, a character like that. Because I don't know a whole lot about Ghost Rider, but doesn't he have, an emotional tie with his brother and stuff?
The new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, his brother is, from what I understand, he is crippled, so he can't use his legs, so he's in a wheelchair, or he has, braces that he can use to help him walk here and there, but the reason that he becomes Ghost Rider is he's trying to help get more money so that him and his brother can move out of a bad part of town. He gets involved in a street race, dies, ghost from his car possesses him, and then he's Ghost Rider.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I'm excited. I'm going into it open-minded because I don't know the source material as much.
Right.
So, and I really want S.H.I.E.L.D. to be something that I enjoy. Last season sort of lost some of my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of fans just sort of started to feel kind of blasé about it. So I hope it really does sort of come back and grab people's attention. or that they are flexible enough to take some of those characters and use them somewhere else. Like maybe they could still show up in a Netflix show later if for some reason they don't succeed in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know. Like
Yeah, I
other
mean,
characters.
that's possible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we're both, open-minded to this possibility. I may be a little more, conflicted about this idea, but I think it also goes back to our previous conversation um, about how many shows Marvel can do with Netflix. Just because I think probably at one point they did have plans to maybe do a Ghost Rider series, but then since Netflix is so happy with the stuff they're already making, that they don't have time to introduce all these other characters. Instead, they want to do the characters that they already have and keep those series going. So that gave Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. the opportunity to bring in Ghost Rider. I'm still not sure how it's going to work, but I have faith in the series, I guess. I mean, they've done okay adapting stuff, but I think this is more of a gamble than like a surefire thing, because I think the name Ghost Rider can help attract viewers, but if you don't do him justice, then people are going to leave again. And I feel like this is almost kind of like the last ditch effort to get people to watch the show, make ABC keep them on for another season, but then if they don't keep viewers interested, then the show will probably end after this season, from what I'm feeling.
And I think also with Ghost Rider, you run into the same problem that they had with Daredevil. Whereas when you first say the character name, people remember another version that they tried to put out. Because,
right.
There's already people going, but isn't Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider?
Yeah.
And, so there's a little bit of a hurdle there where they kind of need to come out and make it super awesome to get past those memories.
Yeah. And I mean, Hellfire was awesome last season. His chain, Axel Whitehead did some really cool things with that, and Mark Kolpak, their visual effects designer, nailed it visually. So I don't know if that was a test run and that's why they decided to bring him in there. I'm just worried that we won't see enough of Ghost Rider to actually warrant him being in the show.
Yeah, so we'll have to see.
Yeah. And then a couple other just kind of quick bits from the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel, and then afterwards, during the panel, a fan asked the creators, okay, so are Bobbi and Hunter coming back now that Most Wanted's canned? And it was a little kid, so he got some chuckles and laughs, but then Jed Whedon was like, well, it was Jeff Loeb said that's classified, and then Jed Whedon said keep watching. So that's not confirming that we're going to see more of Bobbi and Hunter on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And after the way they had to leave, I can't imagine a way that they can come back. But I'm also huge fans of both of the characters, so I would love to see them come back.
Yeah, I'm sure they can do some hand waving of their circumstances of them leaving and get them back, or have them pop up somehow, or they could be back in the show and not be reunited with the team.
Right.
There could be something where they stay undercover and they're doing their stuff. Maybe maybe they have Most Wanted plot lines that they can work into S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
in some way.
Yeah, you have to think if Most Wanted would have been picked up to also either go on this fall or during the winter break of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever the case may have been. You would have had to think there was an episode being designed where they would cross over again, because I just don't see how you would do both of those shows simultaneously and not cross them over in any way. So, if you had to put on a scale of 1 to 100 the chances of seeing Bobbi and Hunter again on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., what would you put it at?
Oh, I'd say 90%.
Oh, okay.
I mean, It may not be until, episode 16, 17,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they'll find a way to bring them in.
Yeah, I'll go 75. Be a little more skeptical.
Okay.
And then the last bit of news for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. before we get to the Hall H madness was Natalia Cordova-Buckley posted on Instagram and confirmed that she's coming back for season 4 as Yo-Yo Rodriguez. So not surprising, but it's good to know that she will actually be back for sure.
Yay! I feel like we barely got to know her in season 3.
Yeah.
So.
And I think with, the losses of Bobbi and Hunter and Lincoln and Ward, and, they lost, and, Andrew, I mean, they lost a lot of people last season. So hopefully this year we can get more of Yo-Yo and Joey and actually, get to know them as characters and not just be like, oh, yeah, these are the powered people that randomly show up every couple episodes.
Yeah. I got to know them enough that I really wanted to know them more.
Yeah.
So I hope that they don't just keep adding characters, that they let us get to know these guys, that we have some time with them. So that, like you said, it's not just like, hey, here's some people with powers, boom, 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 and then moving on.
Right. So, yeah, it's exciting. They haven't announced if Joey's coming back. I would assume he is. I'm pretty sure he has a new show going on, though, so maybe that would conflict with his schedule. But I can't imagine them not bringing him back. Same with, John Hannah as, the doctor guy. I think we'll see a lot more of both of those, plus Yo-Yo. And so we're finally going to move on to the Hall H panel. There's a lot to get to. But before we actually dive into the movies themselves, Marvel Studios has a new logo and introduction to go before their movies. Did you like it?
Well, I mean, I've only watched it a few times. I haven't really. I mean, I didn't have any reason to feel strongly either way about it. The interesting thing is, it's not calling back to the comics. It's calling back to the first phases of the MCU. As it flips through, you see Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. That's the one that really jumped out at me.
Mm-hmm.
You see, it wasn't as obvious that Iron Man and Cap were newer ones, but it is sort of MCU images rather than Marvel Comics images, which to me was a little, I always kind of loved the classic comic pictures that just sort of reminded you this is where this is coming from. So I don't know how I feel.
Yeah, but I can't remember exactly. But doesn't Fox use the same sort of Marvel comic thing before their movies as well?
I don't know.
So I know they have a Marvel logo that pops up after, or it's before the Fox logo and everything.
See, I thought they used the same one because there's the one in front of the Netflix shows.
Yeah.
And there's, in front of the movies and all of that. So I can't remember if Deadpool had the same one as Netflix and Civil War. That would be something people could let us know if they remember or if they've noticed.
Yeah, definitely let us know. I think the new logo, it's definitely different, but it also definitely makes it stand out. This is Marvel Studios and not just a Marvel property, because now on the Netflix shows or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they'll still have the Marvel logo with the comic stuff flip up before, I think, unless they also transition to do a Marvel Studios thing, which could further show a divide between the different corners of the universe.
Yeah, that would be interesting if they develop a Marvel television logo.
Yeah, that would be if you saw Daredevil and Quake and Coulson and Luke all in a single collage basically.
Yeah,
that would be really awesome.
But that I think what you were touching on though, it does start to show a real divide between the movies and the other properties, which to me is a little bit sad.
Definitely. Because, I mean, the whole point of this Marvel Cinematic Universe is to, like, have these TV shows that exist within this world. But so far, it's just been the movies that have the impact on the shows, and there's no impact from the shows to the movies. And if this is truly a universe that all exists in the same thing, it's hard to imagine that, you know, Tony Stark would know about Spider-Man and not Daredevil, or that they would know about, you know, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's, you know, all of their stuff going on, and not, like, they wouldn't know about all the Inhumans popping up.
Yeah. I think that's, you know, the lack of Inhumans being recognized in Civil War. Just so much of crossover potential being overlooked at this point. And I mean, you know, and if it's not going to happen, let's go ahead and treat them as two separate, not necessarily two separate universes, but at least, I don't know. Yeah, if they're looking separate, then maybe we'll stop looking for these connections and just be like, okay, it's no longer that it's all connected.
Yeah. Then we move on from, it's all connected to more of DC's approach and having a world on television and then a world on the movies, which at this point it would be almost impossible to separate them without, you'd have to just eliminate all the stuff that's already going on within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and all the Netflix stuff that clearly have ties and references to the movies. You have to cut those off almost completely.
Yeah.
And then boot up brand new stuff that's outside of that, which would be like terrible to lose like all of the Netflix characters that we already know.
I have this mental picture of like Infinity Wars just moves the cinematic or the movie universe into a new dimension.
Right.
And they're just there.
It just
like,
takes everybody.
Television stays where they are, but the movies just go somewhere completely different.
Yeah.
And
they travel to a dimension that also has the Fantastic Four. And then that's the way that it separates themselves.
Yes. And maybe Deadpool pops up.
Sure, that'd be great. So yeah, I liked the new logo, the introduction. It's cool. It's not that big of a deal. But then as far as the Hall H panel themselves, once they actually started going,
oh my gosh,
we knew we would get Doctor Strange. We knew we would get Guardians of the Galaxy. But they also just talked about basically every other Phase 3 movie except for Infinity War and Ant-Man and the Wasp, I believe. Every other one was covered in the panel, which is kind of nuts.
Yeah, it was insane. It was. I dare I say it was too much.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
Because there's definitely smaller stories that like we'll get to in a little bit that on a regular news day would have been like our top story on the site or something that like everybody would have freaked out about. But instead they're like, oh yeah, well this character's also included. Everybody's like, oh, we don't care. Like show us, like get back to the footage and stuff.
Give back, let's show us more Spidey.
Yeah. So I guess before the panel even began, we're going to go with Thor Ragnarok to start because they kicked off the whole panel. And the Marvel booth once again revealed some new stuff with revealing the Hulk Gladiator armor that's going to be used in the movie. They had the helmet, a shoulder piece, a hammer, and an axe all on the showroom floor. They're massive. They looked awesome. And I want to see Hulk using this and just destroying people inside like a gladiator arena.
Yes. I want to know who dresses the Hulk in this armor so that like he's all dressed up, like why he needs armor. I want to know everything about this armor. And so I'm just excited to see what's coming out of it.
So yeah, there's not that much news on Thor Ragnarok front. It got a new logo, which is like super 80s, like retro video game look. It has like, I mean, they've talked about it being this like cosmic road trip and stuff, and you get way more of that vibe from this logo than like the old logo, which is like the fiery ashes and like destruction, basically.
Yeah, the old logo said Norse god. This one says yeah, galactic journey.
Yeah, this one's fun. The old one was dark. It's like
Yeah.
very conflicting, like ideas behind each logo. And so then the only other thing that came out, they had this video uh, from the Thor panel. Do you want to explain that a little bit?
So they evidently, when they started off, um, Taika Waititi, am I pronouncing that name? The director. Anyways, there was a lot of questions as far as where Thor was during Civil War, and so he had a video put together of where was Thor, and evidently it was very very funny. It hasn't been released anywhere that we can share it or anything, but according to all of the reports, it was Thor moved in with just a regular everyday person and was the worst roommate on the planet, and that he was off having coffee with Bruce Banner and just doing very normal everyday things, but being Thor.
Yeah.
And so the people that were there said it was hilarious. Maybe one day the rest of us will get to see it. Maybe we won't. But I think it's
I think the way that this thing kind of blew up, I don't think they'll release it prior to the movie, but if it's not like attached to the Blu-ray as a special feature or something, like they're gonna miss out. Because I would love to see like What We Do in the Shadows, but with Thor as a regular like human being. Because like somebody described that at one point in the video, he has Mjolnir like sitting on like a desk by his bed, and that he sleeps with right by his bed every single night
with his sunglasses on it. There was something about sunglasses on Mjolnir.
So like I need to see what that looks like. So it sounded great, and it sounded like what YTD would want to do with this project. I don't expect the movie itself to be like that kind of like humor, but I'm guessing this will probably be a more funnier movie than we would have gotten with like any other director behind Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed YTT's sense of humor so far, so I'm expecting there to be a lightheartedness in Ragnarok that we haven't seen in the previous Thor movies.
Yeah. And so since it is Thor Ragnarok, people would have initially thought that Surtur, this giant fire demon from Norse mythology, would be involved with the story, and then there was no word on whether or not he would be in there. And then during like this short, like I think it was a teaser of like kind of concept art, basically, of what for the movie itself. They confirmed that they showed Surtur in it, apparently, which is our first confirmation that he's going to be in it, which just adds another level of complexity to what Thor and Hulk are going to have to go up against, because they're going to have to stop or get free of the Grandmaster initially, then they'll have to stop Hela, and then Surtur is going to get involved somehow. And I mean, this movie's just going to be epic.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else from Thor that I missed?
No, I think that's all of it. Because they had to move on to
Black Panther. And they kicked it off by they showed a new logo, which basically is a shinier version of the old logo. And then Kevin Feige revealed that it starts filming in January, which is kind of insane because Infinity War is still going to be filming at that point. So Chadwick Boseman's going to be like going from like one set to another probably. He's probably not going to have a day off for like a year. But he is not alone anymore in that cast, because Marvel came out and confirmed that both Lupita Nyong'o and Michael B. Jordan are going to be in the movie, and that if that wasn't enough, they were both already reported previously. And then Michael B. Jordan confirmed his involvement at one point. And then they brought out a surprise cast as well with The Walking Dead's Denai Guerrera also being part of the cast. They went on to reveal characters for all of them. Lupita is playing Nakia, who is a villain known as Malice in the comics, who is originally a member of the Dora Milaje. And then Eric Killmonger is apparently like takes her and like makes her evil. And then Michael B. Jordan's been revealed to play Eric Killmonger. And then Danai Gurira is going to play the head of the Dora Milaje, Okoye. So lots of craziness in there. Are you excited?
Yeah. Especially Danai joining the cast. I love her. I love her so much as Michonne on The Walking Dead. I hope that doesn't mean bad things for her on The Walking Dead.
Right.
that's a little bit scary. But I this cast is amazing. Everything about the show is amazing. It's just looking like it's going to be incredible. Just the people that they're bringing in. Every time they open their mouths about it, something comes out that just makes me excited to get to know Wakanda. Mm-hmm. And to get to know this character. And, the universe could feel so crowded with them giving all of these characters. Like even like over on Netflix, I was like, oh, well, let's not give them all their own shows.
Right.
I for some reason in the movieverse, I'm like, yeah, give everybody a show. Mm-hmm. Or a movie so that we can get to know them really well. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited for Wakanda.
Yes. I mean, I was already like super excited for this movie after Civil War because Chadwick Boseman was just incredible. And then once they got Ryan Coogler involved, I loved Creed. I'm actually wearing a Creed shirt right now. So I was over the moon that they could get him. And then, all the three new people are all fantastic. And if these are just the first, they still have to do like Shuri, you'd assume would be involved in the movie. Plus, they still have like the rest of the Dora Milaje to figure out. There are so many other different roles that they still have to, cast. And if this is, any indication in Marvel's, recent track record of just getting like phenomenal actors in basically every single role, then, you're basically going to see every prominent African-American actor in this movie from what it seems like.
Yeah. If they're not already in Luke Cage, they're going to go be in Black Panther. And that's where I feel like, having listened to all the interviews and looked at all the coverage.
But from Harlem needs to go over to Wakanda.
Yeah. It's going to be Harlem and Wakanda. Like,
yeah.
From the two interviews, all of the, both the showrunners, Coker over on Luke Cage and Coogler over on Black Panther. Yeah, I feel like they have that same message that they're trying that both of them discovered these characters, and they were somebody that they could relate to when there were very few heroes out there they could relate to. There's a lot of good diversity being added to the universe through these two properties. So and I feel like Black Panther is going a completely different, obviously just completely different direction, and it's going to be such a chance to showcase some new people and new characters. And also we have no idea who's going to show up that we already do know.
Right.
The big question is Bucky.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Boseman said in one of the interviews that I saw that they don't know. They obviously at this point aren't going to say if Bucky's going to show up, but that he really enjoyed the chemistry between T'Challa and Bucky in Civil War, and that he's really hoping they get to interact again. So, all the new people, and then who knows what existing characters are going to show up.
Yeah, there's a lot to figure out before we actually do see Black Panther, like the movie itself, because we'll have Doctor Strange, and then Guardians, and then Spidey, and then Thor. So, what Cap and Hawkeye and the rest of those, and like Falcon and Scarlet Witch, like what they've been up to this whole time as the new like secret Avengers, basically. like we're probably not going to find out until Black Panther. And as far as we know, that's probably their safest place to be housed is at Wakanda.
Yeah.
So we could have like all of them appear in Black Panther. Um, I don't think that's probably likely because they'll be out setting up Infinity War or something. But I definitely think Bucky will show up, unless in like Spider-Man or a post-credit scene they reveal, oh well, somebody broke Bucky out of Wakanda, and then we
Yeah.
go back, okay, what? Like, can you show me that, please?
That's true. Like the post-credit scene. Yeah, yeah. Seeing Bucky. Yeah. If they just give us a note that Bucky escaped and he disappears for real, I'm gonna be very aggravated.
Yeah, it's gonna be Tony Stark. One of the post-credit scenes is gonna be Stark sitting at that desk, opening up the flip phone, and getting a text message from Steve saying Bucky's escaped, and you're just gonna be like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah. So.
So that's everything Black Panther related. And then this is where Doctor Strange came onto the stage. They had this like really elaborate entrance, apparently with smoke and lights projecting like all the different symbols and stuff through the smoke. Sounded really awesome. And then they dropped a brand new trailer that is just like so crazy. Like, this movie is going to have such a unique visual style. Like, it's going to stand out. Like it has those Inception comparisons from the way the buildings fall are falling on each other. But even just the way they're making magic look, I'm just so excited to see like the finished version for what Scott Derrickson and the rest of this group did.
Right. Yeah. And there again, in this one, I feel like I got to know Doctor Strange a little bit more. You know, the first one was just sort of like, here's the world, boom, teach me. And this one was seeing him as a student, seeing what he goes through, throwing some lighthearted humor with the Wi-Fi joke.
Yeah. That was really funny.
I actually sort of, that one took me off guard. I just did not expect Wi-Fi and the Doctor Strange.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, because he's sitting in his little, we don't know if he's going to be in a Tibetan, if he's going to be in Tibet or whatever, but, sitting there and he has, like, his iPad with him or something, like, I don't know, that one threw me off a little bit, but it showed that there's going to be lighthearted humor.
Yeah.
It was just a really great trailer, I think, for getting fans hyped up and for showing people that are completely unfamiliar with everything what this is going to be.
Yeah, I think the first trailer is more of basically showing a little bit about his origin and, his old life as compared to what his new life is going to be as the Supreme Sorcerer. And this trailer is all like just showing you magic basically every other scene. It all looked so good. We actually got to see Mads Mikkelsen up close and his crazy eyes as Caecilius, I think is how you pronounce his name, as the villain. We got to see more of Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, which was great. And we got our first look at Benedict Wong as Wong. I mean, every single part of this trailer, I was like, yes, yes, yes. This, get me to a theater like now so I can see this movie.
Right, yeah. And as the world was crumbling in, we saw an Avengers Tower in New York City.
Yeah. So I was like, well, they should do that for one of the Netflix shows. But yes, it was definitely very cool. It's like, oh yes, like it is in the same like section of the city basically.
Yeah. So that was it. Yeah, that was just awesome all around.
Yeah, I know they released a new poster as well of him like walking through this like spell, and there's like looks like a kaleidoscope around him basically, which is the same way they like introed the Marvel Studios logo at the beginning of that trailer, which I thought was really cool. So poster looked fine, looked like a regular new poster. Nothing to get that excited about.
Well, but they did the movie poster was released that actually has like the name, all of the credits at the bottom, which there was Benjamin Bratt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
There were some names on there that we hadn't heard before that were going to be in
yeah.
the movie. Where we're talking about just like so much stuff coming out of this, we're still figuring out these little things. Like seeing those names at the bottom of the poster
Hmm.
are giving us more cast members that we didn't realize were going to be in it. So
Yeah. I mean, there's no character details on any of them, so
yeah,
uh, it's hard to really get a grasp on who he's going to be playing, but it's still exciting nonetheless.
yeah.
Um,
And then they brought out the kids.
yeah. So we we'd heard rumblings that this might be happening, but then you know there were people like that would tweet like, "Oh, I'm going to Comic-Con," and then they would take it down because Marvel's probably like, "No, you can't be saying that kind of stuff."
I feel like the
And
young cast of Spider-Man is like Marvel's worst nightmare as far as
right,
the social media. Because they've finally got a group of
yeah, because
actors.
they don't. I mean, they have no idea.
Yeah, they're used to tweeting and Instagramming everything. And like we've seen so much stuff go up and then go down. So
Yeah. Um, so they uh, brought out the cast, they introduced them, and they started it off, I believe, with some footage. It was basically like the first teaser. And the crazy thing is, I was like listening to like post-panel interviews and stuff that like even like the cast and director John Watts had not seen this footage yet because they had just been filming this whole time. Um,
yeah, and if you watch,
we have
there's
the
well, we have a video of the Hall H. It doesn't have you don't get to see the teaser, but
right,
you can see Tom Holland out on stage, and then you can see him. They just cut to when the video ends, and he is flipping out because
yeah,
he hadn't seen it either. So it's just so that's worth watching just to see the raw emotion of those folks because it's just really contagious.
yeah. Like you can tell that all of these kids are just like they can't even like really comprehend that they're in like a movie this big. Like even watching Holland's like post panel interviews, he's like, Hall H is just nuts. Like this is like a surreal experience basically. Um, and I can't imagine like the emotion running through them as they're walking out on stage and 6,000 people are like cheering because like Jacob Batalon's walking out. Like, who are
Yeah.
you? I don't know, but you're in Spider-Man, so people are going to clap for you.
Yeah, and even he was like, this just doesn't feel real. And they're like,
Yeah,
dude, you are here. Here.
yeah.
It's real. So,
So as far as uh, the teaser we're kind of talking about goes, it starts with old MCU actors yearbook photos, which is great. We have a full description up on the site from what the people posted. Then Peter watches the Civil War airport fight in class on YouTube, and
I
then
love it.
he's building or he's making his Spidey web fluid during class as well. He talks with Zendaya a little bit, and then it ends with a swooping shot of the Vulture, which was our first at that point confirmation that Vulture was in the movie, and the first look at him. They later revealed concept art showing him, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. As far as the teaser goes, what'd you think?
It just sounded it sounded great. It sounded like everything they've sort of been saying or that it's been hinting that this movie is going to be just a high school drama with Spidey being an everyday kid. I think John Watts later said, just imagine being Spider-Man and being in high school and not being able to tell anybody. I love the one thing I love about like the superheroes in general is when you get the everyday person that's a hero that's having to hide it, that's having to be a normal person or even a less than normal person. So the idea of seeing Spidey, seeing Peter Parker in this world, going through the yearbook, everything about it just sounds fantastic. I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree, and yeah, the whole high school side of it. I know they revealed that he is in 10th grade in the movie, so he's not a freshman, which means like there were some people thinking that we would get a Spider-Man movie. The first four Spider-Man movies would all be his each year in high school. And I'm like, that's just not possible. So we'll probably get sophomore version now. His next movie, he'll be a senior, going off into college, and all this stuff. But even Holland afterwards, he was doing an interview, and they were talking. He was like, "This doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie. Like just shooting this movie, it's me hanging out with a bunch of the kids my age. It just feels like a regular high school movie." And then, we see that footage that they just showed, and like it changes, kind of the perception of the movie a little bit, because then you realize, oh, this is like a superhero movie, but that it just happens to be set in high school, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I'm super excited. I think it sounds great. It sounds like they're on the right track.
Yeah. And then, so as far as villains go, Vulture was confirmed, and then they released the concept art showing off his suit. It's definitely not the way it normally looks in the comics. It's more techy. There's rumors that it involves Chitauri tech. I think it looks interesting. It looks more realistic than if Michael Keaton was basically actually playing Birdman in a green suit. That'd feel a little off. So I think this version makes more sense for sure.
And there was also a leak possibly at the Hasbro panel. Like, evidently Hasbro was talking about toys, and they talked about 3 villains for Spider-Man.
Yeah, they talked. It was Vulture, Tinkerer, and then Shocker.
Yes,
I believe was the other one.
Yes. So there's more villain news to be coming on Spider-Man.
Yeah. So, I mean, we would think that Bokeem Woodbine, who is officially on the cast, he was on the official press release and everything, no character description, but his initial report, like when it was initially reported that he was going to be joining the movie, the news was that he would also be a villain. So maybe he's the possibility for Shocker.
Yeah. I have no idea. Maybe. I mean, it looks like he could be. So there's more to find out. Definitely. I mean, I think that was something that they didn't plan to be announcing. That was just something that slipped. Or
right.
Maybe it was. I mean, who knows? At this point, I mean, a year ago, I would have said that Marvel doesn't slip. But I feel like now they have so much information that's out in so many areas that some things do kind of slip.
Stuff's bound to come out. Which leads us to our last Spidey topic, or second to last. Sorry. There's a new synopsis for the movie. It's not, doesn't reveal much about the plot, but it's just a young Peter Parker / Spider-Man who made his sensational debut in Marvel Studios' Captain America Civil War, begins to navigate his newfound identity as the web-slinging superhero in Spider-Man Homecoming. So
Yay.
That's it.
Yeah.
But we have a synopsis.
Yay.
And then moving on to the last bit of news for Spider-Man Homecoming. It's probably the most interesting. John Watts was talking to Entertainment Weekly, and he just randomly revealed all of the character names for the young cast. All of them, if you've been following the site, should not be that big of a surprise to you, because we reported a lot of rumors that have turned out to be absolutely true. Zendaya is playing a character named Michelle, which is what the trades initially reported when they broke her casting. And then the other 3 reports all were previously reported by Marvelous Realms, so hats off to them for getting all this stuff confirmed. But Tony Revolori is playing Flash Thompson, Laura Harrier is Liz Allen, and Jacob Batalone is Ned Leeds. So we actually have character names. I'm not sure why Watts revealed this now, and in the press release that we just got the new synopsis from, didn't reveal any of this stuff there. But it's good to know this stuff finally, so we can stop speculating.
Yeah. That's where I feel like Marvel just sort of didn't want to reveal any character names for any of the movies until Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they forgot. that they needed to reveal all this stuff. So
Yeah,
nice to finally know who people are.
Yeah, so that sets up a pretty potentially large role for Tony Revolori moving forward as Flash Thompson, who could become Venom and Agent Venom. I like the idea of Laura Harrier playing Liz Allen and being the love interest for Flash and Peter probably in this movie as well. And then with Batalone as Ned Leeds, that gives us a possible connection to the Daily Bugle, which is always nice. I'm not sure how much that will actually be featured in the movie, since we have yet to hear anything about J. Jonah Jameson being cast. So, all good stuff on the Spider-Man front.
Maybe we'll finally get the television crossover, and there'll be no Daily Bugle. It'll just be Karen.
That'd be so awesome. Just get Deborah Ann Woll over there.
Yeah, and you'll have like Ellison.
Peter, here's your first story.
Yeah, you'll have Ellison and Karen just, maybe they'll build it up somehow with that, but I'm not holding my breath.
I would love it. Well, there's been some speculation that Donald Glover, who's now, he was also confirmed to be in the movie. There's some speculation that he could be Urich's nephew, I believe, and that he could be working at the Daily Bugle, which I would love, because Ben Urich was amazing in Daredevil season 1. I was crushed when he died. So getting more of him, that would be like our actual first real connection to the Netflix universe. I'm all for that if that's the direction they end up going.
Yeah. Just give me some sort of explanation why you weren't at the funeral.
Yeah.
And then we'll go.
So then they brought out the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 cast for what we thought would be the end of the night. It ended up not being, which we'll get to. But they showed 3 scenes, I believe. Got to pull them up real quick. One was, I know, Rocket and who else? Rocket and Yondu were in prison together, and then Baby Groot breaks them out somehow because he can get very, very mean, which I love the idea of Baby Groot just destroying people, and then apparently Yondu kills 50 guys with his abilities. I'm trying to quickly look up the rest of the clips shown. Was there anything that really stood out to you from this panel?
I have to admit, I was so caught up in all the other stuff by the time the Guardian stuff came out that I ended up missing most of this and still haven't had a chance to go back and see where the hype really is. I mean, the only thing I caught was later, the Kurt Russell news.
Yeah.
But as far as the clips, nothing stood out to me. I mean, Baby Groot, who doesn't want more Groot?
Yeah.
In any capacity. And bringing Yondu out, I mean, I think Roker showed up in costume.
Yeah, full costume with a full, foot-tall fin on top of his head, instead of just, the little cut-off, mohawk thing he had from Guardians 1. So he gets an upgrade. I don't know I can't remember what the other scenes shown were, but I remember the one of them breaking out of prison, which makes you wonder why Rocket and Yondu were in prison in the first place. We know that this movie takes place 2 months after the first Guardians, which is not the typical way for Marvel to do it. Normally whatever amount of time passes between releases is how much time passes between the movies. So instead of a 2-year gap that Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 should have, it's only been 2 months. How that brings them into Infinity War, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because that to me says they're a little bit different than the. Well, and I mean, how much overlap do we expect with them and the rest of the MCU until Infinity War?
I mean, I think that's the only time we'll get it.
Yeah.
We'll get a crossover for Infinity War, maybe a little bit post, and then they'll go back off into space. I mean, I don't think the Guardians are going to stick around.
Yeah.
But it definitely is interesting. Maybe this further shows the use of a time gem to help them transfer, like go from there to Infinity War so quickly, or it just shows that, hey, they're so far off in this universe on a separate corner of the galaxy that's going to take them, from whenever Guardians Volume 2 ends, which would have been like last year, basically in real time. It takes them from basically 3 years to travel from there to Earth.
Yeah.
Which is definitely possible.
Definitely, yeah.
But yeah, we did get some character confirmations. The big one, well, not the big one. We know, because they're all big.
Yeah.
One's literally big. But we know that the villain, as previously reported, is Elizabeth Debicki, and they confirmed that she's playing Aisha. And so she was described as being the leader of the Sovereign, which they're like this super high end, like high up and whatever alien race. James Gunn said on Facebook that they should not be messed with. So this just means another female villain for Phase 3, and I am a big fan of Debicki from Man of U.N.C.L.E. and then what she did in The Night Manager as well. I think she can do some really cool things with Aisha.
Totally, yeah. That's exciting. I mean, yeah.
So then, yeah, moving on to the really big news, both literally and figuratively. Kurt Russell's character has been a mystery ever since he's been cast, and we knew he was going to be Star-Lord's dad. They confirmed that for sure last night. But the big question was, the identity, and we didn't know if that would play a huge role in the movie itself. James Gunn said it's not about the reveal of who he is, more of the impact that Star-Lord, me and his father, has on the rest of the characters that kind of drives this film, which is why they decided to reveal that Kurt Russell is playing Ego the Living Planet, which is just the strangest thing to come out of this panel.
Yeah. He's playing, a living planet that takes a human form and is the Star-Lord's dad.
Yeah.
In a world where, we've got so many supernatural things, I think that one finally, the whole fandom was just like, what the what?
Yeah. Like, when it happened, I was like, this can't be true. Like, this has to be like similar to when they were like, oh, Captain America 3 is Captain America Serpent Society. I'm like, this has to be a similar thing, because how can Kurt Russell both be Star-Lord's dad and a planet? And apparently he can be a planet that also becomes or has a human form. They showed off his costume on the Marvel booth today. Looks really like rugged and like he's been there forever, which he has.
It looks like it would fit in great with Thor.
Yeah.
It has fantastic little details on it and everything. But yeah.
It's definitely strange, and we'll find out way more about how a planet can become a person, and then how he can then become a father. His, when he came into existence, all this stuff we'll find out, in 2017 when the movie comes out. And that was supposed to be the end of the panel. The Ego reveal, they showed a teaser that also confirmed Sylvester Stallone's in the movie, which is just amazing. But then they brought out everybody to do a group photo, and then we were all kind of like, oh man, they're really not going to do what we all thought they would. We thought that for sure they would confirm Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, and then we're like, oh well, I guess not. It's not happening. and then they're like, let's bring her out anyways. Here's Brie Larson as Captain Marvel.
Yeah. And just brought her out. They were just like, okay, family photo time.
Yeah.
Here's our daughter we just adopted. and she came out. And she looked fabulous.
Yeah. She looked great.
Just everything about that. So yeah, I mean, that's the very beginning of a whole new character. A really awesome moment, because who knows, in 2 years when Marvel's back at Comic-Con, we'll be seeing, we'll know her maybe as Captain Marvel. Maybe she'll show up in some of the other movies.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have seen part 1 of Infinity War by then, so
okay.
we might not know her as Captain Marvel at that point, but probably Carol Danvers, I would think, for sure.
Yeah. And that's with the assumption that Marvel won't be at Comic-Con next year, that they'll be at D23
Yeah,
instead.
exactly.
So, to me that's exciting. It's brand new, our little baby superhero
Exactly.
getting ready to join the world, and her life being changed forever.
Yeah. It's Marvel's first lead female superhero that will have her own standalone film, which is just, so exciting. Brie Larson's like the best choice probably for it, just because of, her rising, nature as a star. She's put in great performances in her past. I mean, there's just no reason not to be excited for Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, really, in my opinion.
Totally. Yeah. She and it just, I mean, but with Brie Larson, and then having like Ryan Coogler, and just the creative, the Oscar-winning folks that Marvel is pulling in, it's just a sign that they're doing good work and they're attracting good people, and it's all in a good direction. So I'm excited about Brie.
Yeah.
Glad that one worked out.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this as well. And that for the Marvel San Diego Comic-Con coverage, that was basically everything that was released. I mean, there's smaller stuff that came out in interviews afterwards and stuff, but unless we're going to go like for 2 hours on this podcast, that's just, we can't cover it.
Yeah, there's still stuff dropping.
Yeah, I mean, we probably missed stuff while we were recording this. Who knows?
Right. Well, and that's what. Just when we get done with here, Chadwick Boseman's going to be at Nerd headquarters with Zach Levi and stuff. I mean, there's still some stuff that could come out this weekend, but we'll have it all on the website.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys liked this and enjoyed hearing me and Rhiannon's opinions and our actual voices instead of just reading what we write on the site. But definitely, head over to MCUExchange.com, because we actually have like full articles about this kind of stuff where it's not us, rambling like we might be doing right now, and it's more probably a little bit more coherent thoughts. But if you liked it, I think we're only on SoundCloud right now. We might try to go to iTunes if we decide to do more of this. But this is just a trial at this point to see, how we can do it, as well as see what kind of interest you guys have in this. But definitely let us know whether you liked it or not.
Yeah, let us know. Hit us up on Twitter. The MCU Exchange Twitter, which I believe is the MCU Exchange.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me. I'm Shot of Patron, which is a long old joke, but just SHOTOFPATRON.
I'm on Twitter as well for all the Marvel stuff at Cooper MCUEX. Anything else you want to plug?
I think that's it. Just
you have another podcast, don't you?
Well, I do. Yeah. A friend of mine and I, we have the Super Lady spelled with a T podcast, and that's where we talk a lot of Daredevil, but
right.
We're my friend and I, we both got into comics and the whole MCU really late. We didn't grow up reading comics or anything, and that's why some of the stuff I'm like, I have no idea. But so it's sort of a lot of our journey of reading comics and getting into a lot of the fandom. So if any of that interests you, tune in superlatees.com. And you can listen to us. You can hear the raw Thursday night where we stayed up at midnight and recorded screaming pretty much over all of that news. So yeah, you can find us there.
Yeah, definitely go do that. Support her podcast. I also have another podcast. It's me and my buddy Josh. We talk about all film, not just Marvel stuff. We're recording 2 episodes later today. One regular where we're going to review Star Trek Beyond. And then a special Comic-Con stuff where we're going to talk about all the DC stuff that dropped. I'll probably repeat a lot of my same thoughts that I had on here, on there. But you can find us on iTunes at Friends and Film. If you want to listen to us, leave me there. That'd be awesome to go to subscribe.
And that Super Latees is on iTunes too. We're on iTunes. We're on all the regular podcasting avenues.
Yeah. So yeah, hopefully you guys like this. We thought it'd be fun just to try it out for, San Diego Comic-Con, and because Marvel dropped so much news, there was plenty of stuff to talk about. Let us know what you thought. You could comment on this podcast. I believe you can do that on SoundCloud, or just tweet it to us at either the Twitter handles we talked about before. And if you liked it, subscribe, tell other people to listen to us, because that'd be cool. And that's it.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right. We will see you later, maybe, if we decide to do this again. So stay tuned to this podcast feed, to Twitter, for updates on whether or not we're going to do this again. And we'll also be posting them on the site, as far as I know. So you can catch all the new episodes there, if there are new episodes. But until next time, see you guys later.